Welcome, ladies. There we go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for clicking on today's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification button. Yeah, we had a little rough start there because it was on a loop. And so thank you guys for being patient with us and joining us today. Today we have an amazing podcast. Today is our table talk with single dad and single mom.
Yes.
We have Nicole Cox. She is a family law liaison and she helps coach people through their custody battles. And then we also have Joseph Rochelle. He's the author of the Single Dad podcast. My name's Jacob, and this is Ignite Fire. So thank you guys for jumping on the podcast. We're live. And so for those who are watching, you guys can leave a comment in the comment section. We can see that live while we're here in the studio. So thank you guys for jumping on.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. This is great, man. The studio is awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, really excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit more about your guys' podcast, what you guys are doing, the stuff, because you haven't been on here for a couple of months, so it's good to see you guys back.
When I last saw you, it was just the Single Dad podcast.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
And then I was looking for some guests to come on, and I came across Nicole's family law liaison profile on Instagram, and I was like, oh, man, she'd make a great guest. So we set up a call, and within 5 minutes of talking, we were like, wait a minute. You're not going to be a guest. You're going to be the co-host.
Well, yes. I think I was the guest for a minute, and then we decided, wait, there's so much we need to cover and so many people we can help.
Right. And we both had the exact same vision for what we wanted to accomplish in the family court system and the heart for helping those that are going through. I mean, when you're talking, what's more personal, what's more heartstring pulling than your children?
Mm-hmm.
And so custody battles are definitely up there in the top 3 things that you're ever going to go through.
Oh, yeah.
One
Yeah.
of the most difficult things anybody can go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember going through my custody court case, and
Oh, wow.
that was interesting.
Yeah.
But luckily, that was my daughter is 22. She was 3 years old at the time,
Okay.
and I got custody of my daughter, which was awesome because that doesn't usually happen,
No,
especially here in
that's
Arizona. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
But it was a wild situation. So I had I basically had the ball in my court, and it worked out really well.
There's
But
a-
that doesn't happen to a lot of guys and ladies. I mean, well, ladies, it's usually
I mean,
geared towards women, right?
you would think so, but lately I have a lot of clients. I've seen a lot of stories that maybe that's not the case anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of great single dads out there that, do a good job parenting as well now.
Yeah.
I think what I've learned since Nicole and I teamed up is that I think each gender has their own specific idea that, oh, the courts favor the men, oh, the courts favor the women, right? Like I certainly went into my custody battle thinking that,
Yeah.
right? But now I've met all these women where I'm like, God, your story sounds like mine.
I mean, yes, we just ran into somebody that's going to be a client of mine the other day is telling a story that sounded, and it's a mom that was having supervised visits
Oh, really?
for really no reason.
Yeah.
So it can happen to either gender now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it really seems like because the family court system is so broken, it really seems like it's flip-flopped, and the one that gets the advantage is usually, at least in the experience, I think, from the stories we've heard,
Right.
the less well-fit parent. It seems. I mean, would you agree with that? But because it's maybe I'm biased because of the stories that we keep hearing. But
Oh, I know. Even with my clients, I think that sometimes somebody that's not fit still gets too much custody or time or unsupervised, when they should be supervised. So I don't know what's going on. I think there needs to be some reform in the court system for sure.
Yeah.
And the judges need a little bit of, what do I want to say? A little more education on what to look for because people can fool you in court.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They can fool you on paper. They can even fool you in a psychological evaluation, a custody eval.
Yeah.
So
So a little bit of manipulation going on in the court system.
there could be.
Yeah.
And it's also, who has the deeper pockets.
I was going to ask about that.
yeah.
Does money play a factor
Ooh,
Absolutely.
in, because if you got a marriage and you got a high value guy and then he can pay for the best lawyers and now all of a
Yes.
sudden you're in court, now the ladies maybe struggling.
Hands
And
down, the
guess-
most common story I think we hear.
And guess what happens? So, what happens is it becomes a motion game.
Mm.
So who can file the most motions that are non-meritorious? Doesn't matter. You still have to respond.
Yeah.
And it still costs money to respond.
Yeah.
So
Basically, we're going to bankrupt you, and we know that you can't. We have more money than you
Right.
do, so you're going to run out of money before we do, and then we'll win. Yeah.
it's all of that, which is unfortunate. It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're playing chess, not checkers,
For
when
sure.
it comes to the court system.
Maybe 3D
Absolutely.
chess, 4D chess. Yeah.
Crazy chess.
So tell me, Nicole, how do you help people and how do you coach them when they're struggling? So say I was, I'm trying to get custody of my daughter. I don't know what to do. I don't have the funds to hire a high
you
dollar lawyer. How does somebody get connected with you, and what do you do with those people?
Right. I mean, so I help people that have attorneys and people that don't. So just to be clear, I don't give legal advice. I'm only coaching and walking people through. Give them a lot of emotional support. If they're representing themselves, I can help them, guide them through the clerk's system where they can file themselves. I help them with documentation, documenting and collecting evidence is a huge part of that. Walking them through that whole process. The temporary orders in the beginning is huge. You need to know what you want in temporary orders and get that. There's just a myriad of things. It really depends individually on what is going on in that person's case.
Okay.
Do they have an attorney? If they do, those are my dream clients. I love those. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Because I help them, I can help people find attorneys,
Oh, okay.
really good ones that I know are good for certain situations. So yeah, I offer a lot of services.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And did she help you at all with your court case?
Thankfully, shortly after Nicole and I started working together, I gotta say, God intervened, and my custody battle ended, and now I get along fantastic.
So this is new.
Oh
It's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's 180 degrees, and it's
Okay.
it's exactly the way that you hope that all custody disputes, a little faster, I'd say.
Yeah.
But the ultimate resolution came down to, what are we doing? This is what's in the child's best interest. Let's just focus on that.
Yeah.
So, but I think the thing that's neat about what I found fascinating about Nicole and being a family law coach is you can waste so much money on attorneys,
Yeah.
and they don't necessarily need to be involved in every little thing, because a lot of it, like she said, is emotional support, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
you're going to pay your attorney $350 to maybe $800 an hour to be there just to listen to you cry,
Well, and I mean, I have clients that call me and text me, email me 3-4 times a day. No attorney's going to listen to that.
Yeah.
I help them to communicate with their co-parent. I literally help them to look really good in court
And that makes a big difference.
because it's very easy to lose your ability to self-regulate when you're in a custody battle. So I'm there to help them self-regulate and to communicate properly, and the emails, and this is not the end of the world. And here's, I walk them through their custody evaluations. So there's a lot that it can be very helpful,
Yeah, and
and it saves money.
oh yeah, having someone like Nicole, like we've got a story of a gentleman who just lost custody of his daughter, and I'd say one of the biggest reasons is because she had abandoned the family 3 years prior, and then came back once she found a guy with money, and wanted to petition to get the daughter. Now she's been gone for 3 years. The girl's 6 years old,
Which is crazy.
so
That
half of her
child-
life not even there.
That child
Yeah.
doesn't even know that woman.
And the judge gave sole custody to the mom
Yeah.
across the country. So now she's being moved out of state to a house that she's never been with, to a person she really doesn't know, to live with a boyfriend that nobody's ever met. And the reason that she gave for why she had left 3 years ago was that he was abusive,
Yeah.
right? Now, when you are going through something so heart-wrenching as, the welfare of your child, and you're supposed to stand there in court and just be a robot and not have emotion,
Yes,
know?
that's tough.
yeah. So when she says he's abusive and he's there like, what are you talking about? It's like, oh, okay, I see it.
She pushed the button.
Right? Yeah.
It made him look
but if-
manipulated in front of
The
everybody.
trigger.
But if you
that
have
trigger.
somebody coaching you through this,
Yeah.
Yeah, to stay
then
calm.
now you're better prepared to stand there. Even if you can't afford an attorney, you can stand there and actually know, okay, this is what I have to look out for. This is what I know to do. Because you don't really get that from an attorney.
Right. And I prep them for hearings. I prep them for mediation.
Yeah.
So like while you guys while court case is going on, the ladies versus the guys, in your opinion, who do you think is more vindictive when it comes to
Ooh,
court
that's a good
cases?
question. Nicole, I'll let you take that one.
Are the women usually better at manipulating the court system?
Oh, no.
So again, I would go with the person that has more money to spend in the court system
Yeah, yeah.
is the one that can manipulate it a
Oh,
lot better. But what I like to do is if my client is the person that maybe doesn't have as much money in the court system, like I like to make sure that there's look very clean, they do everything right, and then let the other parent kind of mess up.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's one that's more vindictive than the other.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure. I do think I prefer my clients to have female attorneys because I think that they're pretty
Yeah. Passionate.
they're passionate and they're pretty good in trial
Okay.
in court when it comes down to getting in front of a judge.
Yeah, yeah.
That's been my experience. But there's a lot of great male attorneys out there as well.
Yeah, yeah. I know when I was going to court, luckily I worked for a great company and they provided us with attorneys
Wow.
if we needed them.
Oh, my gosh.
And so it was part of our benefit package. And
That was
so
great.
Jeepers creepers.
yeah, so I called my insurance. They got me hooked up with one of the company lawyers. And this is a corporate lawyer. He comes down. He goes, "This is great." He goes, "We're gonna have some fun with this," and kind of like that coach. And he's like, usually, he goes, "If you're a guy," he goes, "women can push those buttons." He goes,
yeah.
"Don't say a word in court." He goes, "Just let me take care of it."
Right.
And whatever she's and sure enough, we're in court. She's like, "He's a drug dealer. He's selling drugs.
Oh, gosh.
He's doing all," and I'm just sitting there, quiet and calm, cool, collective. And I said, and then when the judge came to ask questions, I said, "Your Honor, I don't want to lie about my past. It is a little, it's a little dicey, but I'm here today to say I'm not that person. And as you can see, there's some issues going on emotionally with her. And we have the stable home right now." And then she just flipped out and yeah, she messed up.
Right. You can't. You've got to keep your cool in court. Yeah.
I mean, that was so the case, with me as well. Is that, and it's funny, we quasi laugh about it now, but my son's mother would be like, "I tried this and that," and I was like, "I just knew how to not let you rile me up," and then it's funny now,
To
Yeah,
hear
it
it
about
wasn't funny for
what-
4 years, but it's funny now.
What
Yeah.
her tactics were.
Yeah, right. We get to compare notes, and it's funny. But no, I think a correlation that you can see with who's going to be the more vindictive or manipulative. I think a lot of that comes down to the person that usually makes the most money in I'd say the majority of situations are people that have a driver type personality.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, they're usually, if you're making, millions and millions of dollars, you're usually a pretty assertive, aggressive kind of person.
Type A.
Yeah.
And you're
Type A
type A, exactly. And
personality.
you're used to these, corporate takeovers and shady
yeah.
tactics and blah, blah, blah.
That sounds familiar for my situation.
Yeah. So now when
Yeah.
you are going into, they're just applying what they're used to doing
That's true.
to this. And
Can get you in trouble though,
Yeah.
because then you have that attitude in court where, well, you work for me. And that doesn't work well with the judge.
yeah.
No.
And those who are just jumping on, I want to thank you guys for jumping on. And don't forget, if you guys have any questions or comments, put those in the comment section. We are live right now. There's a couple people watching right now. So thank you guys for
Hi,
jumping
thank you guys.
on. And this is the Single Dad, Single Mom podcast that we have going on right now. So if you're a single parent and you're struggling, go ahead and ask those questions.
Absolutely.
I was trying to, we had a couple of people write in because we have people write us pretty much every day.
Yeah.
With their questions, whatnot. And I know we brought some of those. I couldn't get it to go into the comment thing. So if you just want to address those.
Yeah.
But yeah, we really love when people give us their feedback and ask questions because a lot of times it gives us things that we didn't even think about.
So here is the first question is, I don't have any names, but this is a person that's in Arizona. I'm in Arizona, and this is my first new year as a single parent after losing my spouse. I want to honor their memory while moving forward for my kids, but I feel overwhelmed. How do I start the year strong when I'm still grieving?
Yeah, the widow.
That's a very tough one.
The widow piece in the single parent world is one that is often overlooked. I know when I forget who we were talking to. It was like 6 months ago, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, we didn't even think about
Right.
because you get so wrapped up in the custody battle." But there are single parents that are struggling with things after, just losing a perfectly good parent.
Yeah.
So thank you for that question. And I don't know.
It's grief. I mean, it's grief either way, right? You're grieving if you're divorced, you're grieving if somebody's passed away. I think you look at it kind of in the similar direction as build yourself a support system. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to grieve. And it's okay to not be okay some days. And I really want people to understand and know that it's okay to not be okay. You will get through it. But in the meantime, take time out for self-care and always keep building your support system, your village to help you.
And I would add to that, don't feel like you need to hide your grief from your children.
Okay.
Now age appropriate, of course, don't want to unload on a 2-year-old that's just not going to be able to comprehend it. But, you can certainly let them know that you're sad and that you miss, the other parent. But if they're older, they're teenagers, I think being able to have real conversations and be vulnerable, I know that's one of the things that I've seen growing up, especially coming from our generation. I think our parents didn't they wanted to pretend everything was perfect.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not perfect. And then you have this expectation that everything should be perfect when you become a parent and hello,
Well, and
surprise.
also,
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I mean, I want to also add, it's okay to go get counseling,
Yeah.
see somebody,
Yeah.
talk to someone.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And then I just want to acknowledge Jeff Sherrill just
Hey,
jumped on.
Jeff.
Jeff.
Yeah.
And it's great to see all of you together carrying the cross on the subject for so many single parents out there. Great job keeping this mission going and growing it throughout the year.
Thank you,
Oh,
Jeff.
man. Love Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Mr. Sherrill.
Yeah. Victory story in not being a single parent. He's certainly, for those of you who are staying strong and fighting the good fight, and keeping the families together, we certainly need that trend to come back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love Jeff, love his family. He's great kids.
So let's go on to the second question. He says, this is someone from Texas.
Okay.
And I can barely afford to cover expenses for my kids since my ex doesn't pay child support. How do I plan for the new year knowing I might not get financial help?
Ooh, that one touches home, huh?
Okay, first of all, you should be getting financial help. And there are ways that you can go into your court system in your county and you can file for an income withholding so that's a start. So, and every state has a certain limit where if you're not paying and you don't have any income or income withholding isn't working out with wherever they're employed, because sometimes it doesn't. You know, you go to jail for not paying child support at some point. It depends on each state has a limit, but you have to. So I would encourage that person in Texas to go and look on their self-help in their court system in their county and look up child support self-help.
Yeah, and in the meantime, again, it's so natural to want to isolate yourself and not let people know, what's going on, and not that you shouldn't be sharing this on social media. Don't put your business out there that way. But if you're involved in a church or you're involved in a community of sorts, find some trusted people and be like, hey, we're hurting right now, and I really don't know what to do.
Oh yes, and there's resources out there.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
One of the great things that, because we're a blended family, my wife and I, now, and she has, our son's 19 years old. My daughter's 22, both from different people. And one thing that was awesome about his dad is he always paid child support.
That's great.
He was never around, but that was one thing he always took care of. So that's one thing I, respect about that guy is, man, he was always paying on time. So yeah, thanks for the
Right.
for taking care of that. And so yeah.
Yeah, and on that note, I mean, if you need to be involved in your child's life and to the best capacity that you can be, and if you find yourself struggling to be able to do that, get the help that you need to be able to do that. It's good for you. You got to put your mask on first. You got to come from a good place, and at least show your kids that you're trying. You're making some sort of effort.
Well, and then I'm going to add too, if you can't make an effort and be there and be present, you still need to pay for their existence.
Right.
Like,
Well, yeah. If that's the best you can do,
can't
then
just,
yeah.
you can't just run around creating children, okay, and not like take some responsibility.
Yeah. All right.
So we got another question. Someone from New York, the Big Apple. I live in New York, and my ex is always late returning the kids after his parenting time. This was thrown off, this has thrown off their schedules for school and activities. How do I set boundaries in the new year to make sure this stops happening?
Well, when you come in from New York, you got to call Joey Gumbats, and you come over there and he hits him with a baseball bat a couple times.
That might be helpful. No, it's funny. I have a client that actually has the same problem in New York, and that's not her. But I think one of the best ways is maybe to think about doing some counseling, some family counseling together. You've got to find a way to communicate to this co-parent that this doesn't work. And what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, and we've talked about this on a number of topics, but there is a pattern of behavior, a pattern of solutions that you need to follow in order for the courts to recognize that there's a problem, right? So the first one is you have to try to reach out. Again, let me caveat: as long as the other parent is not abusive, if it's a safe situation, but in some sort of written communication, email or text message, reach out
always
to
email, not text.
Okay.
Usually.
Reach out to the other parent explaining the situation and see if you can get a response and that they're willing to participate. If that doesn't work, then maybe finding a counselor, some sort of mediation process.
Right. There could be a mediation around it. You could maybe ask the courts for something like a parent coordinator that's a middleman that can help you communicate with your ex. That sometimes works.
And by doing those steps properly, what ends up happening is if all of that is falling on deaf ears, if the other parent's just refusing to cooperate, the judge now has a track record of this non-compliance.
Right, which is documentation.
Yeah.
It's very important to keep the documents.
Yeah, and
document.
they could end up losing custody.
Well, or you could modify in some way.
You're losing some form of
You
it,
could
yeah.
you could modify something.
I was like, that's a little harsh for
Yeah,
bringing
I'm
your kids home late.
I don't think you're gonna lose custody.
Well,
I just think
not full, but
I'm like, what did he just say?
if there's,
No,
if,
you can modify somehow the timing of the drop-offs and pickups.
Yeah,
Who's
obviously
doing
there's
it?
something
Where
wrong.
it's happening? Yeah.
I'm just saying that there are repercussions for,
Straight for the jugular,
Yeah,
Joseph.
like, what?
You're late one more time, and that's the last time you're seeing them.
maybe for a brief period,
And like hire a nanny and have them driven to
Yeah.
the other parent. I don't
So
know.
someone drop them off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why communication is so important because, you got to give the person the ability to explain why
Yeah.
is this happening, right? Yeah. If they're doing it intentionally, well, that's a deeper issue that could be, some psychological manipulation happening, and that's where you could have your custody situation.
Well, if it's
changed.
affecting, like they said, the activities for the kiddos and being able to get back and forth to certain things like school, then it becomes an issue.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, and some people can over dramatize, I think, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
They're running
How
late.
many minutes late are we?
Yeah.
Really?
Are they bringing them back
Right.
at
Yeah.
midnight?
Right.
Are
Yeah,
they, then okay, midnight's a little rough. We're having an issue, but
Yeah.
you're coming, an hour, 2 hours late. You're like, hey, you're being a little.
I was thinking 15 minutes, man.
I mean, an hour.
Crack
That's
the
a long
whip.
time.
We would have 2 minutes.
Well,
we're
it's-
two different types of judges here, Jake.
Well, yes, and I'm sitting here. At some point, you are in contempt of court if you don't have the kiddos home at a certain.
Yeah.
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 Gotcha. All right, here we go. We got another one from California, lost in LA. Here we go. I am in California, and my son keeps saying he doesn't like his stepmother. Well, you don't have to say much in California to get, to have some things happen to you. So, like his stepmother, and he doesn't want to go to his dad's house anymore. It's starting to affect his behavior at school. Is that really affecting his behavior, or is it the divorce? Is it the split?
I would say it's probably the whole thing put together.
Yeah. So it says, how do I help him while still honoring the custody agreement?
Oh, well, you get people involved. Like you surround your child immediately. I mean, I would say I think people overlook this, but at school, the school counselors are such a great resource. So get the school counselor involved. Let the school counselor know that your son's having some issues. Get that person on board, and then probably try some other counseling. Maybe do a whole family counseling situation, which I've seen before, where step parents go into counseling with the counselor and the child, and see if that's an option.
And depending on the age of the child, it sounds like this child is at least old enough to be cognizant of what's going on and, articulate that there's a problem.
Yeah.
So, I think this is a great opportunity to educate your child that, look, you're not always going to encounter people that are going to be nice to you.
Or
Yeah.
also, here's another opportunity as a parent to be like, okay, this person, does like you. Like, let's work on it. Like, you encourage your
Right.
child to really actually take the step parent into a situation where they can care for them as well, because they
Yeah.
can be great mentors. I mean, my father was my stepfather, and he's
Yeah.
the most amazing man in the world. But people can be great role models, and they don't have to be blood parents.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think, getting to the bottom of what is actually going on. Is it just perceived? Are they, I remember when I first got together with my now ex, her daughter said to me, she goes, I'm going to break you up and get my mom and dad back together, and I was like, fair. I get it,
Oh, she's your ex now, right?
I
She succeeded.
don't know about that one.
I don't, I think kids are vindictive. I think
They
those
can be.
little kids, they know how to play the game. They know what they want, and they're selfish. So I think these little kids don't get beat enough. And if you're a parent, you need to start beating your kids.
Look at the
and
comments
setting
coming
a
in.
Oh
line.
my God. We're in trouble now.
Now you can't do that in California. They'll take your
Right.
kids
Oh,
away. But
yeah.
hey, if you're in Texas or Arizona,
Oh,
Arizona's getting kind
the fact
of
that it's
crazy.
California,
In the wild, wild west. Yeah.
I blame Disney. Disney kills off the moms and or the dads and puts the step parents in there. They're always the bad ones.
Oh yeah,
There you go.
They leave the kids to fend for themselves,
Yeah,
and
stop going to Disney.
Yeah. No, I think in closing, encourage the child to have some type of relationship or friendship with the step parent.
yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah.
100%.
Thank you for redeeming that.
I sometimes have to turn it around,
Here we go.
reframe.
And you're coaching. You're
you
doing your
go.
job here.
I
You're
am.
coaching, bringing us back. Bring us back.
Yeah.
So here's another question from the great state of Florida, Sunshine State. I am from Florida, and my 8-year-old asked me why I don't have a boyfriend. I've been so focused on parenting that I haven't dated in years. Should I make finding a partner one of my resolutions this year?
No, Florida, don't do it.
Good job. I was going to say the same
Don't
thing
do it. Focus on you.
because you're still sick and you need to get better before you get someone else that's exactly the same as your ex. No.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
well, your energy pulls in where you're at, pulls in the type of person that you attract. So I believe in that. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
focus on yourself. Be the best because you have to do that for you and your children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say you don't get what you want, you get what you are.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
a
that's
good-
what you're
Good way to
attracting.
look at it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's really good.
There's a common denominator in every relationship.
Yeah.
And it's
God, that's interesting to think about.
a different face with the same person.
I think we all.
That's very possibly true.
Mm-hmm.
I started reflecting on that today with you.
Yeah. I think we all get tired of hitting ourselves in the hand with a hammer,
Oh,
and
yeah.
eventually go, you know what? I'm going to take a break from this and just see what happens when the swelling goes down, you know?
Or I'm going to try to choose a different type of
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Well, see, they look, that was the advice I was always given. And I'm like, I've dated every time. I've dated in church, not in church, in the bars, like all over the place, and different backgrounds, ethnicities. They were all the same person.
Because you were the common denominator.
Bingo. Exactly.
Okay, so
Yeah.
That's actually good.
You're only going to attract what you are, exactly like you said. So yeah, you think they're different,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you're the same.
right.
I think that was one of the greatest counseling advice I got for my marriage that actually saved our marriage is the counselor got real raw with me. And he said, Jacob, your wife is a mirror to you. He goes, she is the way she is because you are the way you are. And he goes, never relationship you've ever been in is because you are the way that you are. Until you change, nothing else changes. And I was kind of mad at him for a little bit, because he kept talking to me in the relation in this counseling session. I'm like, you just keep talking to me like there's another person here. And he goes, are you or are you not the man of your house? And I said, well, wait a minute. Hold on. He goes, are you or are you not the leader of your home? And he just goes into this manhood thing
Right.
with me. And I'm like, what the heck? And a funny thing happened is actually when I started to change and mature and grow up,
She did too.
she did too. And everything that I was going through and changing, she was part of that, but my eyes had to get off of her and get back on me.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot in broken relationships is we can focus our sights so much on the other person. They're not back on time. They're doing this. They're not doing this. And we're looking at all their things, but yet we neglect to see all the mess that we're actually bringing to the table. You know?
And
The accountability piece.
I think that also applies to our kids.
Oh, yeah.
If your kids are acting out and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, it's because of the divorce, it's because of the, whatnot. Well, if you start to handle it better, you start speaking positive, and not that you have to lie or, but just remove negativity. You might see that your kids start learning how to handle it, process it well as well.
Oh, yeah. They're just reflecting
Absolutely.
their
They're a
leadership.
mirror as well.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to wrap up all these questions, you can just say the answer is you.
Focus on yourself. Work on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, the better you become, the healthier you become, the better your environment's going to be. And the people that they're either going to stay in your environment because things are getting better and they're going to start becoming like that.
Or they're going to drop away.
Right, because they don't want to be around that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Either way is good for you.
Right.
I think something that we emphasize on this channel a lot is, especially for me, as an ex-addict alcoholic, one thing that has been my foundation is walking in love and forgiveness. And regardless of what's happening outside of us, like I was just talking to someone the other day, and they were saying, well, this is the situation and this is the relationship and all this is going on and I'm responsible. And he's just going, we're talking about a lot of things. And one of the things that I understand is that there's anger, and because of the anger there's fear, and then the fear
Fear.
is acting out of what I think I need to be okay. I need my spouse to do, or I need this ex to do this for me to be okay. I need them to pay
Right.
the child support, otherwise I'm not going to be okay. Or I need my kids to do, or I'm not going to be. And it comes down to this identity of who I think that I am. And interesting thing about identity and anger and fear is I think that I'm a husband, and that's my identity. And so if my marriage falls apart, I'm in distress because
Where's your identity?
my identity is in husband.
Yeah.
Or if my kids are taken away, my identity is father. And so now I'm in distress, and I'm in fear, and I'm in anger, and I act out because who I think I am is being destroyed.
Okay.
Or my job, I'm this business person, or I'm this whatever it is.
Right.
Whenever those things are destroyed or removed, now I'm acting out of anger, which causes a problem in court
Big time.
because now I'm acting out of ego, out of pride, out of anger, out of fear, and that the kids see that. My relationships will reflect that. Everything reflects that. So learning how to let go of who I think that I am and just play the part that God allows me to play for as long as I can play it.
Yeah.
And understanding that that's the case, then if somebody passes away, if a marriage doesn't work, if the kids act crazy and they don't want to be around, I'm okay because that was just the part that I get to play for the time that I get to play it.
Yeah.
And that's just my philosophy,
Okay.
to not get, because I think emotions are bad, me personally. Not necessarily bad in the fact that we shouldn't have them, that we I liken emotions as the changing of the seasons. They come and then they go.
This
And-
too shall pass.
And whenever I hold on to an emotion,
Yeah.
now it gets unhealthy, because I think that I have the right to feel this way. But if I have no identity and I'm just playing the part for as long as I can play it, then this isn't going to hurt me like it would other people who are wrapped up into this identity.
Well, emotions are there to serve you, right? Like I love talking about jealousy because I struggled with jealousy for a long time in my youth. And jealousy is there to remind you that you care.
Now, is jealousy, like when I hear jealousy, I hear fear
Well,
I do too.
of losing what I think I need to be okay.
Well, fear is what happens when you hold tight to anything, right? Because you don't want to lose it, right? So what I've learned is when I experience the emotion of jealousy, it's coming to me, but I'm saying, okay, I'm not going to react to I'm not going to be jealous, but the fact that I'm like, oh wow, I care about whether I might lose this person or not reminds me that I care about something. Like I'm not a robot. I'm not dead inside. You know what I mean? And I try to find the positive in everything. So if your emotions aren't serving you, then let them go. Because that's why we have them. Everything that we have is for us, not to us. So if you have the emotion, it's not that they're bad. It's that the way that you're responding to it may not be the healthiest.
Well, there you go. It's being able to self-regulate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so like I look at the fallen state, like in Genesis, Adam and Eve, right? And so when they fell from grace, that then their emotions became tainted with this world and
Right.
all the evil that comes with it.
Yeah.
So the lenses that we see through are actually tainted. You know what I mean? So the feelings that we feel, they could feel good one day, but then we can feel bad the next.
Yeah.
Or we can feel love one day, and then all of a sudden we feel hate the next.
Yeah.
So these
Absolutely.
emotions are just things that we feel. The jealousy. Can you love someone without and care for someone without feeling jealousy?
Well, it's like when
Well, that's unconditional love then.
There we go. Now we're getting into something different.
yeah, when you feel that way, are you going to go ahead and hold on to that, or are you going to go, oh, that's interesting, but you know what? In this situation, I'm going to choose to feel this way.
Yeah.
right? I like you have it all before you. Which one are you going to focus on? And one thing you just said.
Now we're taking a little turn on the
Now I'm
podcast
like,
here.
what's going on?
what you just said before actually triggered something in me of my own childhood. So I think one of the reasons that divorce and having a broken home was so hard on me is because the way that my parents handled it
Yeah.
was not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fighting and everything. So I had this idea that if my marriage fell apart, which 2 of them did, and I had to go through custody battles with kids, which I had to do twice, I was like, oh my God, I'm now assigning my experience to that instead of going, just because that was my experience, I don't have to respond to this same situation the way that my parents did. I can choose to go through this without fighting with their ex. I can choose go through this with speaking positively to my kids about their other parent, and give them a completely different experience, So just I don't know, something you said about just the root of that preconceived notion of what I'm going through is going to. It doesn't control you unless you let it. You get to choose who you're going to be in every situation.
Whoops.
Well, what you got? What you got?
Well, my ear thing just
Oh.
fell out. That's what I've got right now. So we can skip to the next.
Yeah. The next question. Okay.
Do we have another?
Let's see. We got one last one
Oh
here.
boy. Well, we went deep into that one.
Yeah, because I was triggering people.
Yeah, I know.
Usually I trigger people with this conversation because, like I remember, like my parents were divorced. My dad, alcoholic, mom, drug addict, all kinds of crazy stuff happened. But now that I've gone through all this, I've been rehabilitated. I look at it as it wasn't good or bad. It just was.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, you can do a lot that someone that didn't go through that.
So what makes something good? What makes something bad?
Right.
It's the way you perceive it.
It's the way we perceive it.
Yeah.
It's how I interpret the world.
Yeah.
And so like something that as a single man going in multiple relationships before I got married and almost destroyed my own marriage, I had to realize that I was carrying all this baggage of trauma and hurt and everything and emotion and depression and anxieties and fears and all this stuff that was happening. And I transferred that into my kid, you know what I mean? And every relationship I was ever in until I learned how to overcome and realize that emotions are just emotions.
Yeah.
It's neither good or bad. It's just what I make it,
No, your history doesn't have to be your future, and it certainly doesn't have to be your kid's future.
Yeah.
What happened to you doesn't have to be what you do.
Yes. Yeah.
And you don't always have to perceive loss as something that's bad or negative.
Yeah.
It's actually can sometimes be a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
To have other people just walk away and leave your life.
Oh yeah. Like, thank you, Jesus. This person's out of my life.
Yep.
And they took these crazy kids. Now I just get to see them on the weekend.
I mean, I don't know about that, but
But what makes that my thoughts? My
Damien,
thoughts make it
Damien.
so. But yeah, I love this subject because it works whether you're in a relationship, whether you're single or you're not. Because we all have these emotions, and they are usually the downfall of whatever we're going through.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a sword. It's a weapon. Emotions, can do great things. It's like the internet. You can use it for great things. You can use it for terrible things.
Yeah.
Your emotions are the same way.
Yeah. So here we go. Let's go back to one of our other questions.
All right.
all right.
And it's someone from Illinois, the great state of Chicago. Let's see. And my daughter cried on Christmas Eve saying she didn't want to be at her dad's house and begged me to pick her up. I want to respect the custody arrangement, but what do I do when my child says she doesn't feel safe?
That's a
Okay.
hard one.
This is so tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of triggers me a little bit. Because I have a daughter.
Yeah.
There were times she was young, but I wasn't sure if she was safe for multiple reasons. I think, there's a lot of different routes you can take. you definitely want to talk to the child and see if their life is in danger
Yeah, yeah.
before, there are some resources that you can use, which are like the non-emergency number for the police. If you honestly feel like somebody's not in a safe space, you can do a well check. But can you talk to the co-parent? Can you get in contact with them? Can you calm your child down? Can you talk to your child? Is this, like you said, is this emotion or is this real life not
Right.
being safe? There's
Yeah.
two different things.
Yeah, maybe they're not being allowed to watch the movie they wanted to, and they're, it's like, come pick me up. I don't feel safe, or
Or
is
there
it,
really is something going
Right.
on.
So there's
yeah.
I think there's two different plans of action. You take one plan of action if they're really not safe.
oh yeah,
And then you take another if they're just, sort of manipulating the
Yeah.
situation.
well, again, following
agree?
that pattern of conflict resolution, if you can reach out to the parent and do it through writing and that email,
Yeah, you should always be able to email them.
yeah,
In
and
every state, that's like the rule.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, and if you get back a response from them, positive, negative, or indifferent, at least you know what's going on.
Right.
If you're not hearing back from them at all, and we don't always check emails right away, right? So maybe send a text message and be like, hey, I just
sent
emailed
you an
you.
email.
Yeah.
Yeah, please read it.
I do coach my clients to do that. You're not allowed to text these people via court order, but
Yeah.
say, hey, I just sent you an email. Please read.
Because everything's documented, and that way you have proof
Yeah.
of everything. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, if the person's not responding, then yeah, I mean, the welfare checks might be a good idea.
And I've had clients, don't go on the other parent's property. I mean, that can be a problem. You don't want to put yourself in harm's way
Yeah.
either.
Maybe calling the in-laws if you still get along with them. Hey, I just
Yeah.
got this. I don't know what to do.
Or
Every situation's a
or
little
mutual
different. Right?
friends. Like if
Right.
you have a mutual friend to contact the co-parent and say, my daughter's upset. Can you check in?
Yeah.
Something. But
And
definitely
it
make
depends
sure.
on what actually is going on. Like,
Right.
what is your child saying that they're feeling unsafe
Exactly.
for? Okay.
Is it a real safety issue?
Yeah. Now, if
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
pattern of abuse, documented behavior, and unfortunately the courts just haven't clued into this, and they've given this other parent, time with the child that they probably shouldn't have, because that unfortunately happens while the courts are trying to figure out that's why we say the family court system is broken. It's not that the judges are bad, but the system itself is broken because the judges are not given the information like we've got 3 initiatives that we're trying to lobby for, that drug tests, psychological evaluations, and mediation should take place before you ever set foot in a courtroom. So the judge at least
Psych
knows
evals
what
are
he's going
so
through.
important.
Yeah.
And yet they're so expensive and you can't ever get them. But if you can't show that somebody's not mentally stable or is not fit, then your child's going into the hands of somebody. That's dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it happens
That's like 90%
every,
of the
happens
United
every
States.
day, you guys. It's so scary.
Yeah.
Well, we learned on an earlier episode about narcissism that it's very few people are actually clinical narcissists.
Yeah.
But however, I think just about everybody has narcissistic tendencies, right? So we can all kind of be narcissistic, but to actually be clinical narcissist, borderline personality disorder, if that happens to be the case, this is where, and I think that question might be tying in a little bit more to
Yeah,
actual
we're
danger.
going on a little off topic, but I have a client who's just went through a custody evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
This was mind blowing to me, and the father literally was like documented as having narcissistic personality disorder,
dang.
and another personality disorder, and suicidal and depression,
So that's really unsafe.
and yet was given 50-50 and no supervision with 2 young children under the age of 3.
Wow.
And that's where that judge need to go through some education about narcissism.
Which is my point. It's
Yeah.
not even, they need to be better educated on what to look for
Yeah.
and how to pick it out and see that they're fooling the court system.
Okay.
And
yeah,
there just
yeah.
needs to be more safeguards in place.
Yeah.
But yeah, for that person in Illinois, it's definitely get somebody to check in, whether it's a friend, a family member, but make sure that there's no safety issues.
And get yourself somebody to help you guide you through this process, because that text message or phone call can be really triggering.
Well,
when your kids are in danger, at
have-
least perceived, you know.
I have that all the time with my clients, you know, and I walk them through steps like that. Well,
Like
start
they just
here.
might need to call the police
Start-
if there's an
Exactly.
immediate issue going on.
Exactly. If it's
Yeah.
emergent, like that's what I would say.
Well, it's not unlikely, especially if you're brand new to dealing with this sort of thing, that you don't hop in the car, run over there, and demand to have the kid. You know, and then the cops are called. Now it's escalated, and it's worse.
And now they get an order of protection against you because you were trespassing on their property.
Yeah. So I think the first step is, before you do anything else, is probably call a trusted friend to be like, I need you to
Right.
keep me sane in you know, through this
Yeah.
process.
Oh,
A
yeah.
little bit of emotional support.
Yeah, for sure.
Again,
or if you have a
Good
coach.
to have a coach. Good
goes
to
a
have
long way.
coach.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So then that brings us to the question, those who are watching, those who watch this later on, how do they get connected with you guys, or how do they, you know, find your guys's? I'm going to put a link to your guys' channel in the
Okay, perfect.
description too, so that way we can have that on here. I might just be able to put it in the comments right now, but
Right,
how do they get connected with you guys?
Yeah. I mean, I have a website, thefamilylawliaison.com.
Okay.
So they can contact me. They can email me. I'm on Instagram as the Family Law Liaison. Anybody can message me there. Those are two really great ways to get a hold of me. And
Or if you're like me and have a hard time spelling liaison,
Yeah.
you can just go to the Single Dad, Single Mom podcast on Instagram, TikTok,
That's a
YouTube.
and reach out and because we get that a lot.
yeah,
and we
just reach
connect
out
you.
on YouTube channel or anything Single Dad, Single Mom.
Liaison's like definitely. Like I will never be able to spell definitely.
Yeah.
Ever.
No, I'm
No idea how to
I'm a
spell.
terrible speller. I'm a statistic in the school system.
I don't think I can spell that word either.
That's why we have a podcast, you know.
Yeah, right.
Got to use my voice instead of typing and writing.
There you go. There you go.
I like it.
So before we end today's broadcast, because we're coming up on an hour, that's pretty good. We've been
Wow.
chopping it up. What would you say to the single moms, single dads that are out there that like what information are you giving them, and why should they jump on your channel so they can grow? What are they going to get out of that?
Oh yeah, I think they get tips
Yeah.
and a lot of emotional support
See, that's awesome.
and resources. We give resources and information out,
Yeah.
plus tips,
And you're not alone.
yeah, that's our
That's a
big
big one.
Oh my
is
gosh.
you
That's
are
a big
not
one. Yeah.
alone.
It's so easy to feel like nobody understands. Nobody knows what I'm going through. There's a lot of people that, you know.
Yeah.
And there's always somebody having it worse.
I also think we need to build a community
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's huge.
for
That's
our
really
for our
huge.
viewers and our listeners. I think we should start that and build a community so we can bring the single parents together. That's one thing that I really want to do here is start events for single parents.
Yeah.
And then they won't be single for long.
Hey.
Good point.
Yeah. No, that's awesome because I mean, as a single parent, I didn't have much of that, you know, to look forward
hard.
to
Oh,
or
yeah.
or anything, and it was, you know, having a single kid. Then you're like, hey, I get with somebody that doesn't have a kid, and it's
Oh,
like,
I've
oh,
got
then now we got another.
Oh, that's a
I've
whole
got-
other topic. We were
I've
just
got
talking
a
about
whole
that today.
podcast on that.
Really? Okay. Dating with someone with a kid, not a kid.
Yeah. It's different. And for some reason, we were talking for a while, I have been attracting people that have not been parents
Oh,
and
okay.
not married.
Yeah.
That's an interesting.
So what do you think about that?
It's complicated.
Oh, let's say that's another hour.
Like I was advising someone the other day. I do a little bit of counseling too, and I said, you know, if you're single, you know, don't get with someone that has a kid. You know, just and that's just my, because I was like, you're gonna deal with their significant other or whatever, the kid's parent. There's gonna be some drama. There's gonna be some issues unless you're willing to put up with it. I said, you know,
Well, just know what you're getting into.
yeah, oh yeah.
And
Yeah, some people have a parent's heart. Like I've wanted to be a dad since I can remember. I was at 16.
I
I was
think you're
reading
great
Dear
at
Dad
that.
books. Yeah, like I could
He's
Is that
easily
like
He's
1% of
different.
men?
He's different.
probably.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
different. You know, and then, yeah, I don't even want to get into it because it's just going to be a train wreck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Disney
Just a-
ruined single
just a-
stepmothers. So you know, like
And just talking about the whole subject, it's going to,
You start pushing buttons.
yeah,
Okay.
triggering.
You know, that's funny. I talking about buttons. It just reminds me. I had a counselor that I was sitting down with, and I was talking about, hey, this person's just pushing my buttons, and he's just listening to me. And he looks at me and he says, my job is to help you get rid of the button.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what in the
Turn off the button.
Right.
the Yoda is this?
Right.
I'm like,
In the
And Yoda, that's the best.
this is what kind of force is this that I'm not supposed to have buttons? What are you talking about? But there was some truth to that, and it's helped me to have some really awesome conversations with people that I'd probably never have conversations with viewpoints that are completely different, because if there's no button to push, there's no anger that comes
Right.
out,
Yeah.
and then we can actually really have
And
a
that's when you
conversation.
take your power back.
There you
Yes.
Oh, no, that's another
That's when
subject
you
that we
take-
like to talk about
When
on
you
here.
Stop
take
giving
your
away your
power
power, yeah.
back,
Yes.
when you no longer care about the triggers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it takes a minute.
Yeah,
to work
because
on that.
whoever you're angry with actually holds has
Power.
your power.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you don't want
Yeah.
that. So
No.
so you've got to let go of that and take your power back.
Mm-hmm.
I love when people say to me,
yeah.
they're like, "Oh, I hope
Yeah.
I don't offend you," and I stop and I go, "You don't have that power over me."
Yeah.
That's good.
Unoffendable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place to be.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh yeah, we can. We that could be a whole nother podcast. What offends
Oh,
you?
man. Oh, wow, that is a good
Does
one.
your baby mama offend you? Do your kids offend you? Does your mother-in-law offend you?
Oh, God.
That could be a whole nother subject. So.
And suddenly the comments start lighting up.
Well, as we wind this down, I want to thank you guys for coming on the podcast.
man,
You guys
thanks for
are
having us.
awesome. Love to do this
Thank
again.
you. Oh, my gosh. We would love to do it again.
Okay,
So fun.
we'll have to do it.
Yeah.
And then thank you, Jeff, for making your comments. And for
Yeah,
those
man.
who are going to comment later, I appreciate you guys. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification button. And if you do have a question, even though this isn't live anymore, put it in the comments and I'll read it. And then we can maybe have a dialogue or have another podcast and address those questions. So thank you guys for jumping on.
Love
and
it.
thank you guys for being here.
Yeah,
Thank
Jacob.
you.
Thank you.
All right, till next time, we love you. God loves you.